Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Loryn, and I am the author of basically all the stories on this channel. As you probably have already noticed, my Thursday, August 15th release was removed. YouTube cited inappropriate content, and I think I know why. It wasn't anything serious, just a particular word choice, and I am currently re-editing it and compiling it to be released later. So don't worry about that. You guys who didn't listen to it, you'll get to. You guys who left comments and loved it, you'll get to re-love it again in a couple weeks. Anyway, while I'm working on that, I did also finish my other surprise that I've been working on. In lieu of Thursday's debacle, I'm going to release that one earlier. As you already know, I have my paranormal romance and urban fantasy writing over on my other channel, Jules Monroe and Chloe Zane. I'll leave a link to the description box for that. My other surprise, it needs a little bit of lead in. So earlier this year, I started a Patreon, which needs to be reworked, and I'll get to that another time. But on my Patreon, I started a serialized fiction novel. It's basically like a sweet but very slow burn romance with a bit of a darker setting. Two of the main characters are men for hire, hitmen, whatever you want to call them. They're basically good people encased in a setting that makes them have to make hard choices. That's kind of the stuff that I obviously enjoy writing. The love interest character, I will let you figure him out on your own because that's a surprise. So the serial is for people who like dark urban settings but still like wholesome romance because I do actually think you can kind of have both of those at one time. This one also includes all of my favorite tropes: opposites attract, class warfare, found family, protector, secrets. There are themes of redemption, hurt, comfort, and self discovery. I'd also like to stress again that this one is super slow burn. It involves lots of world building and it's currently unfinished. I'm going to release a new installment of this one every Tuesday going forward. So I don't have anything else to say about it right now. I will let you guys get into the first chapter and I hope you guys enjoy it. Blossoms, Bullets, and Blades. Chapter 1, Cyrus. Cyrus picked up his jet black blazer from draped across a well worn recliner and shrugged it over his shoulders, hiding his blood stained shirt. Box toed loafers creaked over a bed of broken glass, and his target exhaled soft gurgles from behind the couch. Moonlight spilling in from floor to ceiling windows guided him back to the front door. A gaunt faced man in a wide brimmed hat and ill fitting suit greeted him as he opened it. You called, Gideon? Cyrus dug into the breast pocket of his blazer and handed the man a shimmering copper coin. The usual, he rasped. How bad is it? The man accepted the coin, tucking it away before motioning behind him to a nondescript cargo van. On cue, a half dozen men exited the van and marched past Cyrus straight into the house. Cyrus didn't respond. Well, the man straightened up a little bit, though even at full height he barely reached Cyrus' shoulders. It's always a pleasure doing business with you. Until next time, Cyrus said, adjusting his blazer and walking past the man. He took measured steps towards his vehicle, wincing after each one and exhaling a heavy sigh when he finally collapsed inside his vehicle, melting into the black fabric seats. As the men worked, coming in and out of the home with both cleaning supplies and bodies wrapped in bright white dressings, Cyrus dug around his car. From the glove compartment, he grabbed gauze. From the center console, he recovered a small bottle of crystal clear vodka. With the gauze in his mouth and the alcohol in one hand, he ripped open his button down and tore through the ribbed white undershirt, exposing raw and wounded skin. He sucked in a deep breath, bathed his open wound in alcohol, and packed it with gauze, pressing into the wound for a full, agonizing 30 seconds. Sweat beaded his brow as dizzying pain radiated through him. When he released the wound, he gulped ragged breaths, nostrils flaring with each inhale. He took a swig from the little bottle and put all the supplies away, stashing them back in the compartments he retrieved them from before starting his vehicle and driving away. His wound reminded him of its presence with each turn of the steering wheel and each, even subtle, twist of his body. The drive from his Mark's home to the Velvet Rose was nothing less than torture, but he made it, climbed out of his vehicle with a hand braced at his side, and surrendered the keys to the valet. Mr. Gideon, the valet greeted him. Cyrus nodded. Clean her up, he grunted. Please. Sure thing. You're looking pretty rough. Hard night? Ignoring the question, Cyrus took measured steps from his vehicle to the concrete steps of the Velvet Rose. Over 20 stories high, the building towered over him, shading him from sunlight in the day and moonlight in the night. The amber glow radiating from room windows highlighted his path up the scrubbed clean steps, and the exterior stained glass double doors opened automatically as he reached them. The interior of the Velvet Rose was a study in opulence. Everything from the rich violet rug leading the way to the front desk to the stitched wingback chairs at the public bar was well crafted and signature. The front desk, and by extension the man behind the desk, was a fixture of regality, and old childhood insecurities bubbled in the pit of Cyrus's stomach. He didn't belong here. Among working girls, other men for hire, and those men who hired the men for hire, Cyrus stood out in sharp relief, and not just because he was the only one holding his side as fresh blood spread over his shirt. He was unrefined, good at his job, but primal. He was a tomcat amidst a sea of house cats, and even despite years in the business, some ways were as permanent as his hazel eyes. A room, please. His voice had grown thick from the pain. Mr. Cyrus. The host looked up from a gold-plated book, and the soft yellow hues of overhead lights glistened on his smooth, bald head. It's a pleasure to see you. Room. Yes. Would you like an economy suite or a luxury suite? Cyrus gripped the counter with one hand, bracing himself. Economy is fine. The man leveled with him with cold, steel blue eyes. Then he scanned him over, assessing him. Mr. Cyrus, would you care to for a doctor? How much? For an old friend, nothing. The man flipped through the book in front of him, scratching on the tea-colored paper with a wooden-handled fountain pen. He dipped it once, paused for the jet-black ink to spread, and then continued. How is your other half? Better than me right now. Indeed. The man actually chuckled. Once. The corners of thin lips lifted into the barest of smirks. It shaved a decade off his features, but it was gone as quickly as it had come. The doctor will see you now, and I will have your room prepared. Thanks, Atticus. It's a pleasure. It's good to see you well, sir. Without another word, Atticus went back to his notes, receding into the background like another piece of furniture. Cyrus trudged away from the counter, straightening himself up and putting one careful foot in front of the other. He passed the open bar, receiving polite nods from the staff, and disappeared down a quiet hallway. When the crowd faded from view, he braced himself against the wall until he reached the doctor's office, the third door down the hall. The doctor looked up when Cyrus poked his head in. Atticus made an appointment for me. So he did. Gideon, was it? Cyrus nodded. Take a seat here and let me take a look. Cyrus nodded again and eased into the leather examination chair, wincing as he leaned back. Shaking hands unbuttoned his blazer and his shirt, revealing how much the blood had spread. The packed gauze had gone from bright white to deep crimson red, but it could have been worse. The doctor rolled his chair closer, pulling a pair of thick-rimmed glasses from his breast pocket and placing them on the long bridge of his nose. The man was older than Methuselah and slower than cold molasses in January. Cyrus dropped his head back on the table as the man leaned in and slid on a pair of the powder blue surgical gloves. He removed the gauze, placing it on a metal tray, and then inspected the wound with a thoughtful hum. What happened here? Trouble at work? An accident. Cyrus glanced up at the ceiling. Yes, at work. You should be more careful, sir. Sure. I will try to be more mindful when I am getting stabbed with a butcher knife, he snapped, wincing as the man poked and prodded at him. With a pair of forceps and a scalpel, the doctor cleaned the jagged edges of the opening. You would take care to. The man dabbed his skin, wet his lips, and continued. His hot breath tickled Cyrus's raw flesh. Cyrus closed his eyes, reviewing his job performance as the other man worked. He hated watching anyway. The job hadn't actually been hard or bad. It was a miscalculated move on his own behalf, and his own clumsiness led to a knife in his side, piercing through layers of skin, but apparently missing the vitals. He assumed the knife had missed the vitals, as he was still sitting relatively upright and the doctor hadn't mentioned it, but for all he knew, the man could have been stitching up his spleen. He assumed humans had one of those, but he wasn't confident in his knowledge of the organs in the human body. He couldn't say biology was his favorite subject in school. Save for the attractive teacher, Ms. Eisenberger, there wasn't much for him in biology class. How are we doing? The doctor prompted. Good, Cyrus grunted, breath hitching as a needle stabbed through him. Now you're going to have to take it easy for a few days. Take some days off so you can heal properly. If I don't? Cyrus cracked his eyes open and glanced towards the other man. If you don't, you'll be seeing me a lot sooner than you want to. Yeah, he hissed. Well, I'll see what I can do. The man wet his lips again, leaning in even closer as he slid the needle through the layers of flesh, pulling each stitch tight until the skin came together. Finished yet? Almost, the doctor chided. Cyrus closed his eyes again, letting his thoughts travel right back to the middle-aged curves of Miss Eisenberger. She had been a good-looking woman, young when they were in high school. She'd be in her 40s now, at the latest her 50s, which was still a respectable age. She'd be well past the insecurities plaguing young women and into her pubic hair don't care phase. All right, the doctor said, you're done. Cyrus grunted and sat upright. The pain still radiated from his wound, but blood didn't. He handed Cyrus an unnamed bottle of little white pills. Take 2 every couple hours. They will make the pain less, or they will put you to sleep. Thanks, Doc, he hissed. Until next time. Until next time. The doctor wheeled his chair over to the sink as he peeled off his gloves. He tossed them into the trash and squeezed a dollop of thick, pink liquid onto his hands, scrubbing them under steaming water. Cyrus slid off the chair, pocketing the pills and exiting the office. He escaped to his suite, which had been stocked with a myriad of things, including economy t-shirts and sweatpants in his size. He peeled out of what was left of his work clothes, disposing of them, showering, and then putting on the provided sweats and t-shirt, drying damp curls with a fluffy towel. As he tucked his wallet, pocket knife, and cell phone into his pockets, the suite phone rang. Hello? He answered. Good evening, Cyrus. I wanted to make sure you were settled in. Atticus's calm voice was on the other line. Yeah. How was your visit with the doctor? Pleasant as always. As always, Atticus echoed. Shall I send dinner to your room, or have you made other arrangements? Not hungry. Thanks, though. Complimentary food services are included with your package, sir. There is no need to thank me. Thanks for the clothes, too. Included with your package, sir. Right, well, Cyrus trailed. If there is nothing else, I will let you enjoy the rest of the evening. If you are so inclined, you can receive a complimentary alcoholic beverage at the attached bar. Yeah, I know. I think I will. Thanks. Cyrus ended the call before Atticus could make any more suggestions, and he dunked his feet back in his loafers, strolling out of the room, down to the first floor, and taking a left at the lobby entrance to the bar. He sat in an empty stool. Your usual, Gideon. A woman placed a napkin down in front of him. No, let me have a beer. Guinness fine for you? You look like you've had a pretty bang-up day, she observed, letting a smile play on her soft pink lips. She barely looked old enough to drink, let alone be serving the city's underbelly. Sure. Get him a Bud Light, a much more playful voice said over his shoulder. Bud Light, I promise. Guinness is fine, Cyrus interjected. Don't listen to him. When have men ever known what they want? A man got us in this mess after all. A woman collapsed in the seat next to him, folding her arms and leaning on the table. A cascade of chocolate brown hair framed her face and pooled on the counter, and large brown eyes fluttered towards Cyrus. Ruby, Cyrus named her. She batted long eyelashes, pressing her lips together for a moment before her expression snaked into a smile. Gideon. How's work? He grunted. Work is work. What are you doing these days? The usual. She settled in her seat. Can I get a vodka lime and soda? Sure, the bartender said, winking in Ruby's direction. The usual could mean anything for you, Cyrus said. Hmm, she chuckled. Exactly. You know, a little bit of everything, but you know what I haven't done lately? What? The bartender came around with their drinks, placing the mug of beer in front of him and a clear glass with a lime wedge at the corner in front of her. Hang out with my best friend. She sipped her drink and purred, nodding to the bartender. You should take some time off from working so much to do something fun. I know. We should go to the track. I'll think about it. He tasted his beer, licking his lips as the light foam coated them. You'll think about it? Yeah, I have to look at my schedule. Boy, you work for yourself. You set your own schedule. Pencil me in this week for some friend time. For now, I have to catch a client real quick. She kissed his cheek and downed her vodka drink like a shot. With a satisfied sigh, she slammed the glass down and sauntered away from the bar. I hope you enjoyed this installment of Double Take. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. If you want to know when the next one is released, you can subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.